Hi, hello, welcome, shining beings from all times and all spaces. Welcome to Sunday Live with Sylvia Hartman. Me, I'm here. And I'm excited today. We've got a wonderful topic. And looking forward to sharing that. So, good morning to Carol Ann and Marianne. Hello. And a special welcome to you, my dears. Special welcome to you. Special dragon gift coming to you, flying to you. Dragon Post delivering magical items, which I kind of like. Yeah, so what we're going to do today, I wonder. New worlds. When I was a youngling, I used to love watching Star Trek and the opening sequence of that, discovering new worlds and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one's gone before. Yeah, that was sort of. Ah, good morning, dear Ilke, my dear. We have got a very magical circle here this morning, and I'm glad because I'm in the mood for a little energy magic, a little bit further up and higher up and further out than sort of the normal everyday stuff. I mean, everybody can do normal everyday stuff. It's here we are to do something else for a change. That's what Sunday Life is all about, is a space for the other worlds, really. To be fair, I think I'm going to have to put this up. Love the artwork, Sylvia, says Carol Ann. Thank you so much. Yes, there's a lot of artwork behind me. This is all my artwork, actually. I can just see here on the screen. And yes, it's themed around the New World topic. So there behind me, that's one of my favorite paintings, or you can see a part of one of my favorite paintings of all times, Story Island. And that's from Project Sanctuary or Supermind. Every great story has a map to go with it. The Treasure Island, for example, the original example came about when, well, somebody drew a map of a imaginary treasure island. And as they were drawing the map, the story just unfolded. They created the habitat. That's what we say in Supermind Project Sanctuary. They created a habitat and created that island with its coves and where the treasure used to be and where it is now. And if you do that, this whole world just unfolds for you. And sort of the great meta stories like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, which is a good story if we forget about season 8, they have maps. And of course, my Inserain has a map too, which is how a person, the writer or the creator of this world, navigates their, huge territory with all these different hundreds of thousands of different people and different elves and different animals and beings and landscapes and environments. In order to navigate the world, we need to make a map. And Story Island is sort of a crossover between modern energy art and Supermind, where we do a symbol hybrid painting of a world. And this world can contain an infinity of stories. And yet they're all connected, they're all cohesive because it's one world, one map. So I do love that. And I that's quite funny. When I first finished Story Island, I had it on an easel in the kitchen, and there were some uninitiated visitors, shall we say, people who know nothing about energy or art or what I do. And they were looking at it and they said, that's cool. Is it like a world? And I'm like, yeah, it's a world map of a strange new world, an undiscovered world. And it's quite detailed. If you look really, really closely, you can see the tiny sailing ships in the harbor. And I pointed at one of the natural harbors in that map. And this person just peered really, really closely and went, "Oh, yes, I can see them. Sailing ships with white sails. Wow. How did you do that?" And I was like, this is awesome. Their energy mind translated some little sparkles into sailing ships with huge billowing white sails as they were looking at the map. Wonderful. That's just a little star event that needs to go in my book of stars. It was just really, really fabulous. I loved that. Yeah, so that's Story Island. Good morning to Alex and Lorna. Hello, and Ravensweaver. Susie, hello there. Welcome, my darlings. Welcome to my live stream. Yeah, this is the human mind can create these incredible stories and worlds. And the world, it starts with the world. I mean, in sort of technical commercial fiction, this is called world building. And they make it sound as though you have to take a shovel and a spade and you have to start building this world consciously. But this is the sort of thing our energy mind does for us. It just does that so quickly, so instantly. It's just absolutely amazing and totally untapped. I mean, people just have no idea how the energy mind works. And oh God, if they did, what amazing things could we be having in this world today instead of all this boring stuff? Hey, Solar Phoenix, good morning. Hello. Solar Phoenix, good one. Yeah, so the Story Island is quite old. I've done that quite a while ago. And I loved it so much I made another one. And then another one. But then I thought I'll better stop because I'll just never, ever be able to tell all the stories of these worlds. And then my latest art project, is the dragon there behind me. The flying dragon. And the flying dragon is flying towards a new world. And I had this hanging up. When I first finish a work of art, I hang it up and I look at it and, just get to know more about it, what it is, and have thoughts about it. Just kind of happens. And with the flying dragon, I just could not keep my eyes off the new world. Could not keep my eyes off it. Every time I would look at that, my eyes would be drawn magically to the new world. And so eventually I gave up a few days ago and decided to make myself a new world charm, new world pendant. Yes, I want to discover new worlds, I do. And that's such a wonderful thing. Such a wonderful thing. Good morning, Julie. Hello. Lovely to have you here with me this morning. So now here's the question. How do we discover new worlds? How does that work? In the absence of having some spaceship that we can physically step into and then travel across vast distances, and there's this new world. What does that even mean, a new world? And if you've been following the Sunday Lives, the other day we did this thing with I've got the whole world in my hand. And we were talking about that the term, the metaphor, the world, is often used by people interchangeably for themselves. So if they're saying, for example, the world needs more love, what they actually mean by that is they need more love. Their world needs more love. And if we go with that sort of metaphor of the world, what is this new world? And how do we get to have new worlds? Now, one way, of course, obviously, is to sit down, get pencil, and start drawing a map, like Louis Stevenson did. And as you draw the map, the world springs into being. And if you wanted to, you could make a setup before you draw the map. You could say, I want to I want to create something here, a story. I want to create a story that will heal me, or a story that will evolve me, or a story that will widen my horizons. And there we really come to why I am so interested in this. See, I believe that each one of us has a certain sphere, a world that we've built for ourselves from the experiences in this lifetime. So we have our own version of the world. Each one of us has their own version of the world. And yeah, it's depending on our life's experiences, what this world is, what the rules in this world are, what possibilities exist in this world, what is possible and what isn't possible. And I believe that each one of us creates, as we, grow up with little squirts, automatically this world. And in that world we live. So this is our world, and it has certain rules and regulations, laws of nature, if you want to call it that. And some things are possible and some things are not. And in fact, each one of us has been all along one of those great storytellers like Tolkien or Robert Louis Stevenson, and has created this story of this world in which we live. And I think that's a really high level thing. It's a real high level thing, because once you've got the structure of your world established and the rules and regulations, for example, is there a God or isn't there, or are there more than one, or is there a hierarchy of gods, and how do they react to being petitioned? That would be quite interesting, the rules in your world regarding to that sort of thing. Are there miracles? What are they? How do you get to have them? These are sort of basic world building blocks that then influence all the stories that come on top of it. And I think that's super cool, that each one of us has their own world. When I was young, I used to visit with other people's worlds. I would find myself inside other people's worlds. And this could be extremely scary, and it could be, for a small child, that's extremely scary. And I believe, again, that wasn't just me. I think this is a human ability, and we just suppress it as we get older because it's just too confusing. When the adults around you have these weird worlds that are just distorted or chaotic or post-apocalyptic in some way, and you get into that, it's just like, no, oh God, I don't want to know that much about you. Oh no. Oof. I'm going to close off my world here and make sure that it's nice and sparkly. And I'm not going to leave this because other people just, ooh, no. So there's all this fascinating stuff going on that we know so little about. So little about. But the reason why I'm excited about new worlds and discovering new worlds is because I understand that phrase, to discover a new world, to be simply an expansion of my world, of my existing world. My world becomes bigger, becomes brighter, it becomes more interesting, it becomes more exciting, it becomes more, magical. And my ability to act in this expanded world becomes greater. That's purely an energy thing. But that's what I'm after. That's what I mean. And that's what I dream about, this world expansion, because this has happened to me quite a few times already in my life. I had star events of world expansion, and they are awesome. I mean, the big one that springs immediately to mind was when I was living in a world that didn't have any energy in it. And then there was an expansion all of a sudden, and there was the world with energy. Man, I never got over that. Never got over that. I've never gotten over it. There's so much to explore in this new world. So much to do. Everything. God, people think of energy work for healing and therapy. Oh my God. That's, yes, 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 of course. Energy work, when you're energy aware, healing and therapy become a different game, a different thing altogether. Just totally different and much, much more interesting, more exciting. There's more potential in it. Everything is sparkling. It's wonderful. You can spend not just one, but 100 lifetimes just exploring that, healing and therapy with energy. You could. I can't. I won't. Fair enough so. Because it's about the expansion itself for me. I believe that these expansions of our world, when our world that was previously quite orderly and small, and we sort of thought we could live in that, when that expands all of a sudden, and yeah, there's a moment of going, whoa, how can I cope with that? That's so much. It's just too much. Yeah. I'll say that I'm still sort of in that phase with Star Matrix. Star Matrix was one of those expansions for me. The Blessed Child moment and the star line. Oh my God. Now all of a sudden we're immortal. Whew. That had sort of existed as a whisper or a myth that was told in the previous world. But now it was there and it was real. So discovering new worlds doesn't mean leaving this world and going somewhere else. It means expanding our understanding of the world, or our grasp of the concepts of the world. It's incredibly empowering. And that's why I'm so attracted to it. So attracted to that. I love it so much. Would you guys like to expand your worlds too? Do you like to expand your horizons? Just expanding the horizons, and all of a sudden the world, your world, the world that you understand, the world that you have access to. Oh, that's a good way of saying that. A world that you have access to, because it exists all around us all the time. It does. It just doesn't, when we're doing this new world thing, we're not creating anything from scratch. We're just accessing more of what I believe to be essentially infinite. There's no end to that more. There is no end to that more. That thought just makes me shiver with happiness. Shiver with happiness. Oh. Ilka's saying, Star Matrix for me was a real wow experience. Yeah, I think that when that happened, see, we were so focused on all the trauma because of the brainwashing. The trauma, the labyrinth of trauma is really a trap, and it shrinks people's worlds in a horrible way, if we want to be playing with that metaphor of the world. And once Star Matrix came in, that was a massive expansion. All of a sudden, all the good memories came back and lit up the world as they did that. Of course they would, wouldn't they? And where there's more light, there's more to see. We can see more detail. We can see more of what is around us. We're not groping in the dark anymore. We can see things that we can be attracted to and fascinated by and move towards those and investigate them further. I love it. You know, when we talk about evolution in modern energy, that's really what I mean, that expansion. Carol Ann says, I'd love to expand my world. I'm tuning into so much opportunity and exploration just now. Yes. God, yes, yes, absolutely. It's amazing. It's like the laws of nature change when your world expands. It's like the laws of nature change. Like in the trauma world, in the small trauma-riddled world, there was a law of nature that you could never get over bereavement and you would have to suffer for the rest of your days. And the best you can hope for is you get kind of used to it. Right? Now, you bring in the energy worlds, and this is not true. It expands. Whoosh. Now we have a different law of nature. And this law of nature says, actually, there's a healed stage to bereavement called the immortal beloved, where you are, you have loved, and this is immortal now. It's an infinite source of strength to you, that person who has passed on. It's a completely different world now. The laws of nature have changed. That's why this expansion is so groovy. I love it so much. It feels so good. Oh man, it's another thing. As I was talking about, the new world isn't a different world. It's the same world, but it's an expanded version thereof with more in it. More toys, more opportunities, more ideas, more possibilities, more, everything, more, just more love filled. One of the things that I see all the time in the sort of depressing Muppet world, and with all apologies to the Muppets, really, they were wonderful little creatures. What I see all the time is this idea that the real world is terrifying and that we should buy into illusions because they're nicer. And that was never better demonstrated than in the movie The Matrix, where the world we live in here, we think we live in, that's an illusion. And if you come out of the illusion, it's much worse. It is 1,000,000 times worse. You're going to eat slime. You're going to get endlessly chased by evil robots. There's no nice clothes. There's no stakes. There's no living. There's only fighting and misery. And I see that all the time being perpetrated in stories, in, all the post-apocalyptic stuff, This is great where we are right now. And if you wake up from this illusion, what you will find is slime eating for the rest of your life. And that's the exact 180-degree opposite of the real truth. The real truth is that the universe is sparkling and infinite, God damn it. And as soon as we get a bit more with reality and expand our horizons and expand our worldview, the more beautiful it becomes, the more blessed it becomes, the more love-filled it becomes, the more sparkling it becomes. My ex-husband of 25 years, when I was a young aspect, used to tell me every single day, at least once, if not thrice, that I should get into the real world. He kept saying that, get into the real world. Because I was dealing with art and with energy, with crystals, with communication with animals, with animal training, with things like of that nature, invisible things of that nature. And he kept telling me to get into the real world. And I think that these exhortations over 25 years, 3 times a day, actually got me to get into the real world, or at least a slightly realer world. I slightly got out of the matrix and into a more expanded world with all that energy stuff going on inside of it. And so many things now make sense that never made sense without the energy paradigm. I expanded my horizons. My world became bigger. And as it became bigger, it became realer. That's the coolest thing, isn't it? It became more and more real. I love it. I totally, if you'd like to join me in this endeavor, I'm going to take my charm here and absolutely going to say, I am ready for the next expansion of my world. I'm totally ready. Just let it expand more. I love it here where I am in this world. It's so much better than any of my past aspect had ever dreamed of. When I was a young person of 14 years of age, I tried to kill myself because life was so tedious and it didn't show any sign of ever getting any better. You know, all the countries had already been explored, you know, everything had been done. I was watching the adults around me living their lives in quiet desperation or noisy desperation, as the case may be. And my aspect was so depressed by that, decided to kill herself. Man, she had no idea that these expansions are real, that they happen. And when they do, it's like old chains fall away that held you down. And you feel like you were stuck for all this time in this tiny little cage. And your body could finally stand up and expand and bring the shoulders back. And oof, and your energy body's finally expanding a little bit. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a feeling of additional freedom. See, I don't think freedom is one thing either. I think there are levels of freedom. And the more expanded our world becomes, the more freedom there is within to move within this world. And that there's another expansion with more freedom and another expansion with even more freedom. And that there literally is no end to it at all or ever. I love that. I just totally love that. I love that. And I so wanted to share that with you this morning because it is such a wonderful thought. It means we can stay right where we are. We don't have to get into spaceships and run away. We don't have to move to, I don't know, a tropical island somewhere. The freedom is that expansion. The power is that expansion. The joy is that expansion. And every time this expansion happens, there's more love in it. More sparkles, more everything. Yeah, so did you enjoy that, my dear friends? Sylvia's model of expansion, which is what evolution means to me. This is what I understand when I use the word evolution. That we should really let go of all these ideas of what it's like to be an enlightened human being. Now let go of these old rules and regulations and these erroneous laws of nature that exist in our current state, and simply just seek the next expansion. And then we can learn with hindsight where we were going so wrong in the tiny little one before. And yeah, of course, there's visiting other people's worlds. I feel now that I can invite people and even children into my world. Because when they come in, they're not going to be shocked and horrified and terrified. They're going to be astonished. They're going to love it. They're going to find all manner of things that will make them laugh, that will excite them, that will go, ooh, what's that? Ooh, I've got to have a look at that. Can I have one of those? Of course you can. Of course you can. It's only energy. And I do love the idea of being able to walk in other people's worlds. And look, we all do. This is why we watch movies. That's why we read books and read fiction and listen to stories being told, because it is like a reminder of what it's like to actually walk in somebody's world that isn't you, a person that's perhaps in the room with you. And that, of course, is also perfectly possible and doable, and many of us have done this. You know, when you play Supermind games with another person, you create a world and both of you walk around in it, and it's wonderful. So many things that could bring us joy, that could bring us answers, that could bring us evolutions, that could change our minds in an instance, without trauma, without tears, without having to struggle and work and practice, just beautifully, naturally, in an alive, living way, in a living way. So yeah, I am at the moment in between projects. I have put out my call that I am looking for the next expansion. I'm ready. I am ready for the next expansion. I'm more than ready for it. I'm hungry for it. I'm excited about it. It doesn't mean that I'm bored with the world I'm living in at all. It is already a million times better than my poor 14-year-old aspect ever thought would be available to her. A million times better. And I am hugely grateful that I was allowed to experience this in this incarnation. God, I've no idea how I deserve it, but that's fair enough also, you know. So there's no disrespect to the current world when I'm asking for that expansion. None. I want to make my world more beautiful still. And my world deserves that. Yeah, if you've got a house plant and it's doing really, really well, and it's your house plant, you'd love it to be even happier, even grow even better, you know, flower even more spectacularly. And do everything you can to assist it in doing that. And this is how I feel about my world. I love my world, I do. And I want the very best for it. The very best for it. And I have come to believe that this is achieved by expansion, expanding it more, so it becomes even more love-filled, even more sparkly, even more fun, even more miraculous, really. Oh. Oh, wow. I wonder what will unfold this time. Well, it's a huge surprise. Obviously, from where we are in the world we're in, we can't know. And yeah, you know, that's the marvelous thing about it. We absolutely can only see this in hindsight. what was missing in the world that we were living in. We don't know that when we're in that world. It's a fish in water situation, fish tank of aquarium. All these people living their lives between -8 and 0 and having no idea that this other thing exists on the other side. They just don't know it. And among them seem to have decided to never talk about this other stuff because, like prisoners, they eventually stop talking about things outside of the prison if they think they're never going to get out, in order to not depress themselves with fantasies when their current life is so horrible, which is sad. And I send them all my love and lots of sparkling energy. I don't know, perhaps my joy can be an example or an inspiration. Perhaps it can. Okay, now I've got a few minutes. Let's have a look here. I've been musing on quantum entanglement equals the creative order. Well, see, the quantum entanglement, whatever that is, I have literally no idea what that is. And I don't need to know what that is either. But I can immediately say that the quantum entanglement comes from a world which is probably yay big. And the creative order is all the rest of it. That's human beings. That's the understanding we human beings have of stuff. And, we know so little, and we can know so little of the great creative order that it doesn't really matter if your knowledge is yay big or yay big or yay big. It's still not going to go anywhere near the creative order. The infinite expansion. Perhaps as sort of we move on and we become, I don't know, whatever the next step is, dragon lords, angels, and then we move on and become fields of energy, and then we become on fields of stars, and then we move on and we become nebula, and then we become suns and solar systems, and then we become universes, and so on and so on and so on. Perhaps right at the final evolution of this world is the great creative order. And then we can understand it and we can say, okay, the great creative order equals the great creative order. And yeah, lots and lots of fun to be had with this. Lots and lots of fun to be had with this. If you ever want to talk more about this or share experiences, or if you want to do this world expansion with your own groups and with your own followers or with your clients, by all means do, and let me know how you go on with it. It's a lovely concept. I feel it's a very grounding concept. Rather than trying to escape from our bodies and to escape from our physical realities, it's like planting your flag in the ground and saying, no, I'm staying right here, and just becoming a lot more powerful, which is groovy, I think. All right, so yeah, thank you very much for being here with me, and congratulations if you've made it all the way to the end. Many blessings to you. I wish you all a wonderful week, and I wish you to notice when there are invitations to expansions. They don't have to be gigantic expansions. Little expansions can be quite groovy too. And every expansion, evolution, takes us closer to reality absolute and puts more love into our lives. And that's really what we're all after at the end of the day. All right. Thank you very much, and a blessing from Marianne. Have a week full of love, joy, and magic, everyone. I completely concur. And wherever you are, dear listener in space and time, may this be your week forward moving also. Lots and lots of love to you all, and I'll see you again next week for Sunday Live with Sylvia. Bye for now. New worlds and new civilizations.